All right. The Thursday Mind Mission from the Toad Bunker in New Toad City, where we croak all night long. Subtle language patterns that will help you kick ass in multiple situations. Conversations, negotiations, sales situations, places where the center of gravity is moving around subtly from point to point. And you've got to be very, very attuned to where that center of gravity is, and how you can exert some control or some authority or some sense of initiative over where the center of gravity of that discussion is going. Now, remember, when you're talking to people who have worked in an industry or a field, and they're very familiar with it, they are going to use a number of ploys and plays and maneuvers to help move the center of gravity into their court. They will use lots of abbreviations, that is an ARS. What's an ARS? Now, it's really interesting. If they say, well, this is an ARS, an auction rate security, and you say, well, what's an ARS? You look very naive. It sort of moves you into a dependency relationship with them. What's an ARS? Although I would really suggest asking what's an ARS. But there's a much, much better way to ask the question, which puts the sense of power and authority and control subtly with you, and also puts them on the spot in a very interesting way. Okay? So you don't say, well, what is an ARS? I think we've got a great thing here. It's an ARS. What's an ARS? Well, and they'll pull out, well, an ARS is they give you a form. No, here's something else you do. Well, we've got an ARS. What is your understanding of an ARS? What is your understanding of an ARS? And now that changes the game quite considerably, although it's a very subtle linguistic shift or a language pattern shift, because what it's saying is, yeah, I can go look up an ARS, we can go figure it out, but I want to know what your deeper level personal take on the ARS is, which combines both, you might say, left-brained intellectual comprehension. I suppose if we're looking on this screen, this would be left-brained for you, intellectual comprehension of what an ARS is, versus the right-brained, intuitive, felt, lived with it, dealt with the people who are dealing with it. So when you say understanding, what is your understanding of an ARS? That then puts an extra degree of challenge to their sort of deeper level thought processes to come up with what's my understanding of it. And I think you will find that gives you reveals tremendously more about what they really know about it versus sort of what they've been told to say about it. And more of how they feel about it will come up. Now that can also have a powerful impact in something like, okay, these PUA seminars and things like that, how to get girls, and they may use a term. They may, some kind of somewhat psychologically sophisticated term or something like that. They may say, and challenge you, come up and, directly challenge you. Listen, you're a Don Juan. You've got a Don Juan complex. Now, you could come back defensively and say, well, what do you mean? I'm a Don Juan. Or you could just try to deny it and say, I'm not a Don Juan. Or, where did you hear that crazy crap? Or something like that, which immediately puts you in a diminished parent to child, they're the parent, you're the child kind of relationship. Much more interesting is to reverse that kind of transactional analysis, parent to child interaction. Say, well, what is your understanding of a Don Juan complex? And then they may go on at some length about it, or they may not. And you would say, well, how do you know that you're dealing with that? So you could also bring that back to something like a financial product or a sales situation. Someone says, this is a, we'll throw in a 36,000 mile warranty, and you may say, well, what is your understanding of how that warranty works? And you might notice some really, really interesting things going on in their sort of mental processing state. So keep that question in mind. That is a zinger, but it's a sweetie. It's a good one. What is your understanding of something? It's like people who ask you, like drop a name, like, oh yeah, I was talking to Bill Smith, and people, a more sophisticated person will come back and say, well, how do you know Bill Smith? Interesting question. How do you know Bill Smith? And then, if it gets to a deeper question, well, he works in, I don't know, real estate litigation or something. And then you might come up with, a much deeper question. And well, what is your understanding of what Bill Smith does? Which says, okay, he's not just a generic real estate litigator, but what is your understanding of, his particular action in that? Where's he really at with that? Depending, of course, on how much you need to know and how much you value that knowledge and how much you're willing to pursue that line of reasoning. But so what is your understanding? And with a person, you might say, first, how do you know somebody? Drop a name, how do you know? What is your understanding of what they're about? So use that. What is your understanding of versus what is?